The whistle has sounded, and you know what that means. It's time for final whistle, college football final whistle, and me and Jackson Johnson will take you around the association all through the games throughout the afternoon. We'll take you through the 3:30 slate. We'll take you through the Friday night slate. We'll take you around the College Football Association. Happy week 4 to everyone that celebrates. If your team got a big victory, congratulations. And if your team lost, well, there's always still hope because there's a new 12-team playoff. But if you're new to this show, I'm Sports Talk with Austin Williams, and this is my co-host, my partner in crime to my right or left, one of those, Jackson Johnson from the Jacksonian. Welcome you in. Happy week 4, good buddy. And how'd you enjoy the bye week?
Oh, it's been pretty cool. I got to sit and chill, watch the games for once.
That's nice. I mean, always nice to have a break. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love watching my team play, but it's nice to just sit and watch the other teams and not stress.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next week, but I'm already excited to cover what happened this week.
Oh, yes. There were some interesting things that happened. The miracle in Boulder. We'll get to that later on.
Oh, yeah.
But, Jackson, we have to start out with the Friday night games because there was some really good weekend ball games. How about Jackson, Stanford going on the road to the Syracuse Dome and getting their very first win in ACC conference play?
Oh, I mean, man. That was wild.
All props to him. I mean, I watched a little bit of both of these games, but I was more focused on Stanford-Syracuse for the most part because I was like, I wanted to see how Stanford would do against Syracuse in the Dome. Jackson, I think Stanford might be a little better than we think. I know a lot of people are giving them crap because they're Stanford, but they seem to be improved.
Well, I'm not saying they're going to be anywhere near where they were with Jim Harbaugh, David Shaw, but we did see some flashes of awesomeness against TCU, especially those who tuned in, in week 1. It was pretty cool watching what Stanford brought out. And A.O. Manor, the wide receiver, he made a clutch catch on 4th and 9 in the fourth quarter. That was huge. And it helped Stanford get to field goal range. I mean, they say the Carrier Dome is intimidating to those on the road. Well, it didn't intimidate the Stanford Cardinal in their first ever conference game as an ACC member.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, this was a really good game. Like, this was a good Friday night game. I know on paper you look at it and say Stanford, Syracuse, and you're thinking, why is this a Friday night game? Why does this get its own spotlight? And it turned out being a really fun game to watch. Like, for people like us, Jackson, we love those type of games. Those games that fly under the radar.
For sure.
But I will say, Jackson, the other game Friday night, what a lot of people had their eyes tuned into, was Illinois and Nebraska. And Jackson, I must say, Nebraska still has some Scott Frost gene left in them, don't they?
Yeah, they're kind of like Charlie Brown. Nebraska in one position games and at the field goal range. They're like Charlie Brown at the pitcher's mound. That's what it kind of feels like. It's they still have that, but maybe they'll nip it in the bud this season. They'll cut that part out. At least I'm hoping so, because this team is way better than it was last year and in the Scott Frost era. It really is. As for Illinois, people have been forgetting about them. Heck, they've forgotten about how magical of a 2022 season they had. I mean, well, magical to them, not to us, but to them. It was pretty cool. And yes. Illinois, we saw flashes of awesomeness against Kansas. That was a great win right there for Illinois. And now we saw some magic from Illinois. We've seen some magic from Dylan Raiola. Now, of course, Raiola is going to have to get better at decision making, especially if he's getting top notch comparisons to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's going to have to do better on the decision making, no doubt about it. But other than that, this was a great game. And
I will say, not to cut you off, Jackson, but on the decision making, he had a receiver wide open, and he just missed him by that much. By that much.
Yeah. But I will say, though, like, it was pretty fun watching this game, especially if you caught it from friends of the Final Whistle. Sonny Verma, the host of Locked On Illini and Illini Cast, and Justin Adams, host of the Nebraska The Voice College Football, as a host of Big Ten show, they hosted a watch party for this game, and it was pretty cool, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, Justin did like a huge post game on it, and Sonny did a post game on this game as well. But yeah, Illinois, they were. I wonder if they're going to have like a season better than 2007, honestly. Because like when we think of top seasons for Illinois, we're thinking of 2007, Juice Williams, that team that upset Ohio State, getting the job done, going to the Rose Bowl against USC. They didn't win it, but still, it was nice they went there. And next week, they got to go to Beaver Stadium to play the Penn State Nittany Lions, who just can't wait to be king. And the other ranked remaining teams for Illinois on their schedule are Michigan at Champaign on October 19th, and they got to go to Oregon on October 26th. Question is, what kind of season are we going to see from Illinois now? Will we see like an 8-9 win season? Will we see a 10-win season? What do you think, Austin? And chat, what do you think of the kind of season the Illinois Fighting Illini will have?
Well, Jackson, we always talk about how important winning your cupcake games are. Mm-hmm. And, Illinois, with that big win over Kansas, like you mentioned, like that was a win that they almost needed to have if they wanted any shot at going bowling. I think even a lot of people have said, like, Illinois' got to beat Kansas if they want a chance because their schedule is not very favorable. But they just beat a top 25 Nebraska team. Now, Nebraska probably won't be ranked when the AP poll comes out tomorrow, but
no,
unfortunately, but it's still a ranked win as we sit today. And like I said, if Illinois continues to play the way that they are, I could see them going 8-4. I mean, because I feel like they have the horses to go 8-4. They might get a good, nice bowl bid, maybe 7-5.
Like honestly, they could do a lot better than 8-4. Honestly, and people forget people were giving Illinois flack for even hiring Brett Bielema to replace Lovie Smith after 2020, and people forget the magic he made at Wisconsin. I mean, I know that he didn't like turn him around like Barry Alvarez did, but he continued what Barry Alvarez built at Wisconsin. He got that program to 3 straight Rose Bowls, and I get that he didn't necessarily get Arkansas to 10-win seasons, but still though, he's getting Illinois to pretty good status. I'm loving what Brett Bielema is doing. And as for Matt Rhule, the magic is going to be there. I can guarantee it. The magic will be there. And I know people are asking, when's it going to happen? The magic's coming in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I'm going to tell you right now, stay patient and you're going to be very happy. You're going to be very happy. You're not going to see Nebraska finish in the top 4 in the Big Ten. I don't know if you'll see them finish in the top 6, but you'll see them back in a bowl game. You'll see them. I'm sure they'll win their bowl game, but 2025 is going to be that 3rd-year jump, and that's where magic really happens under Matt Rhule. Just ask Temple and Baylor fans about it.
Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, Jackson, when they fired Lovey Smith, I remember, like you said, a lot of Illinois fans were up in arms. Like, how could you do this? Lovey Smith was just getting us going in the right direction. And then all of a sudden, Brent Bielema comes in, and they didn't want to hear it. When Illinois tried to say, this is better for us, he's going to take us down the right road. And they were like, I don't want to hear it. You didn't give Smith a chance. He had us on the doorstep of a bowl game. And then all these years later, Jackson, he seems to be doing all right. I mean, had that magical season 22 where he had a Witherspoon and Spoon drafted in the top 5 to the Seahawks. Had the defense was special that year, and I feel like he's done a really good job. I like what Illinois has done, but I want to see them do some more. How can they build off this win? We'll find out.
Well, they're building quite a lot, but we did see. But did anybody stay up until 2 a.m., 3 a.m. watching the CW? Who did? Raise your hand.
I did.
There you go. Same. But like when
My
we saw,
goodness, Jack.
yeah, anybody that saw this game, you probably thought, oh, now you decide to bring some defense. Now you do.
Yeah, Jackson. I could have sworn Jackson was this a basketball game? I mean, was this a basketball game? I mean, seriously, Jackson. Like, I look up and it's like 41-28 at halftime, and I'm thinking, good grief!
Good
Like,
grief,
is there just no defense? Like, is there just no defense at all? And I'm like, whoa! And then Jackson, oh my gosh, we'll get to a couple other games today that look like basketball scores, but sheesh.
Oh,
Congrats to Wazoo.
Oh yeah.
I think Jackson, Jackson, I don't want to say that. I think they just, after that Big Apple Cup win, I kind of think they were still celebrating. I'm going to give them a pass, but
Okay.
this continues, then I'm going to have some questions.
Yeah. Well, and here's a little stat. It's the first time that Washington State has been 4-0 to start off the season in consecutive seasons since 1906 and 1907. Wow.
Let's hope they don't blow it this time.
Yeah,
that's all I got to say. Let's hope they don't blow it this time. Because remember last year, Jackson, they got off to that nice start, and then they lost to UCLA, and then they went downhill after that. So I hope Ben Arbuckle and company can get it right and then make a bowl game.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And we got a score update. BYU is winning 31-6 against Kansas State. And I wonder where that Kansas State guy, he called himself Saint Schneider or something on X. But he said if BYU beats Kansas State, he was going to shove a five. I swear this is true, but he said he was going to shove a 5-layer burrito up his butt. Like,
hey, Jackson. High five, good buddy. We called it. High five.
Yeah. Game's not over yet. Third quarter still on.
I'm just saying, though, Jackson, we called it, though. Upset in the making, but Jackson, now we're on to Saturday games. And let's start, Jackson. Where do you want to start Saturday? Well, Ohio State did what they were supposed to do. Good job, Ohio State.
Texas did what they're supposed to do. Good job, Texas.
Ole Miss did what they were supposed to do.
Good job. I mean,
Tennessee.
What you want to pat on the head, Ole Miss? Get out of here.
Oh, hold on, Jackson. I know what they want. They want a cookie.
Yeah, Ole Miss, yeah.
You want a cookie, Ole Miss? Here you go. Talk to us when you play some real competition.
Now
But
go, Ole
someone who
Miss.
did play some Jackson, someone who did play some real competition today, and some a certain team, Jackson, that you were
Tennessee.
particularly hard on, Jackson. I think they might have silenced you for at least now.
They are a contender. They are proving themselves to be a contender. I mean, they may not win the SEC in my view, but they are proving themselves to be a playoff contender.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say this, Jackson. I don't know how much of this was I will give Tennessee credit. They look good, but I will say Oklahoma's offense, yikes.
Oh God.
Jackson Arnold's not the answer.
Yeah, and they're trying their luck with Michael Hawkins Jr. I mean, did you see that touchdown he made in the fourth quarter?
Yes.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, Jackson, this had all the emotions because Jackson, this was the Josh Heupel Bowl. Because so there was a lot of emotion, and I kind of thought going into it, I'd be like, okay, Tennessee might play a little sloppy because it is the Josh Heupel Bowl. They want to win for coach, and Jackson they weren't as explosive as they had been in past games, and part of it is because Oklahoma's defense is pretty good. I mean, I would say their defense is borderline elite. That's what they've shown us so far, but they gotta have some offense because Jackson, you can't expect to survive in the SEC with no offense. I know people will say, "Look at Iowa in the Big Ten. Look how long they survived." Iowa's a rare exception. Like they're a rare exception. And Jackson, I think you'll even tell us, being an SEC guy, because you're Bama, that if you don't have some sort of offense, you're going to get eaten alive in that conference.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you better. And I know that Tennessee, they look legitimate. They are a legitimate contender. And Oklahoma, they better get their quarterback situation figured out real quick. Because they got Auburn coming up at Jordan Hare, which I mean, that's kind of like your practice game. But as for Texas, you better be ready for Texas. You better keep that winning streak going if you're Oklahoma, because that's going to be saving Brent Venables a little bit. But on the bright side, at least they're not masquerade. They're not an 8-win team that's masquerading as a 10-win team like Missouri. I mean, Missouri looked sloppy against Boston College. They almost blew it today against Vanderbilt. They're lucky that Vanderbilt missed a field goal.
And Jackson, I'm all credit to Tennessee. Congratulations, though. But Oklahoma, there's not much else to say. Just get your stuff fixed. Tennessee looked good and got the win for the coach. But as for this game, Jackson, you never want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as we like to say. But golly, was last year a fluke? Because Jackson, Missouri looked. They looked very beatable today.
Yeah. Well, and there's a reason why in the preseason, I had Missouri as one of my top 10 teams that were overrated going into the season. I think that their easy schedule is going to help them quite a lot this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, the thing about it too is Jackson. The thing about it too is Jackson. The thing with Missouri is they had that fantastic season they had last year. And, including us, we all kind of wanted to see, okay, Missouri, let's see if you could do it another year. Or if that was just, a fluke year. a Cinderella story type year. And then you see their schedule, they're playing Murray State and those type teams, and it's kind of like, okay. It's like you're not getting really to prove yourself just yet. I mean, BC was a good game. Maybe BC's better than we all think. But like Jackson,
they obviously
if Vanderbilt, if Vanderbilt, like you said, hadn't missed that kick, who knows what would have happened in that second overtime?
Oh yeah, I mean, we would have gone to 3 overtimes, and we probably would have seen another 2021 Penn State Illinois, and it was just. I mean, nobody really had Vanderbilt, Missouri circled on their calendar until, oh wow, Missouri could lose to Vandy. Ooh, I better watch.
Mm-hmm. It's like Jackson. They took them lightly, and it almost backfired. Like Jackson, and I know every year we always have those teams within the top 10, top 15 that drop out because they're not as good. They get overhyped. Like we already saw that with Florida State. Could Missouri be the next? Could Missouri be the next overranked team that gets exposed somewhere down the road?
Yep.
And I will say this, Jackson, Miami looked good today. Speaking of top 10 teams, Miami looked good.
I wanted to see if Miami was going to somehow slip up against South Florida, or if they were going to be playing down to them a little bit. And they did not. They smacked.
Nope.
They ripped the horns off of South Florida. And
nope.
I think they can pull this off. I think, there's 2 teams that I believe can win the ACC. Miami and another team that we saw earlier at noon, 11 a.m. today, which we'll get down to in a minute. I mean, Miami is legitimate. They look like that team that can win the ACC for the first time since they joined that conference. And
yeah, in Jackson, it seems like all it took was Cam Ward too. That's the thing, Like Jackson, it's like they almost flipped a switch. Like people, had expectations for Miami. Like you and Mario Cristobal was brought in from Oregon because they thought he was the guy because of what he did at Oregon. And then it just was like mediocrity after mediocrity. And then they bring in Cam Ward. And now all of a sudden, Jackson, their offense is clicking, looking good. Defense is balling. The only thing that concerns me, Jackson, is they don't have a running game. That could spell trouble. Because Jackson, especially against a team, especially there are some teams in the ACC, Jackson, that their front 7 can get home with just 4 and don't need to blitz. And Miami doesn't have a running game besides their quarterback to threaten that defense. Those teams might have a field day with them.
Yeah.
But good win. Congrats, Miami. You did what you were supposed to. And Jackson, another team that did what they were supposed to, Penn State.
Yeah.
Give it a golf clap.
Yeah.
And Jackson, one of the biggest games of the day. Right here.
Oh, yeah. Because Michigan fans, they were worried to death about what was going to happen. They were like, we're going to lose this game. Don't be sure. Don't be down on yourself. I mean, it's not like you got smacked by Boston College in your own backyard. It's not like a certain team in the ACC, which we'll get to later on. No worries, Michigan. You're the defending national champs. You can have a down year for the time being. I mean, you're good. But that QB situation, it's pretty sloppy still, but it was a fantastic finish by the Wolverines, and it was closer than the experts had it.
Now, I will say though, Jackson, for preference, we both did pick USC, so we're kind of having to take a little medicine now.
Yeah. But I mean that's just how it goes. And Miller Moss, he still had a great day. We're gonna see what USC can do next week against Wisconsin. That it's gonna be interesting to see what happens for Michigan in the next several weeks.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Jackson, and the thing with them that really helped them today is that Khalil Mullings and that running game. Michigan, they went to their bread and butter. They ran the football. They played very well on defense. And Jackson, in all honesty, like I doubted Michigan. I even think a lot of people did go into this game. I don't think a lot of people picked Michigan in this football game, to be quite honest with you. I know I didn't. I'll admit that up front. I didn't. I didn't think they had a chance because I thought their quarterback room is a disaster. Their running game, they can't get it figured out. They look sloppy on offense, and then all of a sudden they come alive today. Alex Orji comes in. They run the football. The O-line's pushing people, and it's like, okay, maybe Michigan is coming back around. Maybe this is how they're going to win their football games. Be like kind of like what a lot of Michigan fans are saying through the Twitter Discord is they're going to have to go Iowa on everybody. Just run the football and play defense.
But
and as for USC, though, Jackson. Oh, go ahead.
But yeah, 32 yards in the passing game for Michigan. You can't be doing that every game. Can't do that.
I mean, Jackson, they took down a top 10 team. Well, close to a top 10 team. They were 11 with just that. So if Jackson, if they could do that with an almost top 10 team like USC, I would hate to see what they could do to the Cupcakes if they try.
Oh, yeah. It's for sure.
But I will say though, Jackson, I will say Miller Moss, he looked kind of scrambled today. Like that Michigan defense got pressure on him. They were up in his face. Like Jackson, he looked like he wasn't comfortable. I don't know about you, but I feel like they may have found USC's weakness, kind of. It is if you get pressure on Miller Moss, he tends to rush things. He's not as comfortable, and he's not as athletic as the past QBs at SC have been. Like, is that not concerning to you, Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
That if you could get pressure on him, that he kind of gets flustered and is like, I don't know what to do. I can't run this offense.
What do I do, Scoob? What do I do? Like, that's what he's saying. He's like, what do I do, Scoob?
And it's just like, and it's just like the thing too is, Jackson, USC's run defense, I think it's back. Meaning it returned to the run defense of last year. Jackson, did you see how many gaping holes there were when they scored those first 2 touchdowns?
Oh, Lord.
I could have drove a school bus through. Like, Jackson, you could have drove your fancy economy car through that hole with you and your Beagle Bear.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Michigan made some huge plays. Don't get me wrong. I love what we saw from Khalil Mullings. I mean, he made some tremendous plays. But where the heck was that USC defense?
Yeah, they reverted back to old USC is what they did, Jackson.
Yeah. For a little bit today, yeah. And
they were like, and Jackson, they were like, oh, I guess we'll just let them run through.
It was pitiful.
Agreed.
But I love what both
I will
teams
say, though,
brought out today.
I will say, though, Jackson, if you're Michigan, what kind of confidence builder is this going forward?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. Like they're happy as a pig in mud about this. I mean, they are happy. They're playing the Peanuts music. They're playing celebratory music. They are playing Cool in the Game. Everything. They're playing all kinds of music.
Because Jackson, a win like this can do one or two things for Michigan. Maybe this is the win they needed to kind of realize to get back to the Michigan that we all knew they could be.
It's a huge confidence boost.
Exactly. And I feel like Jackson, and for like USC, I'm sure they're going to go back and look at the film tomorrow morning and be like, we could have done this better. We could have done that. But you're now in the Big Ten, USC. You got to shake this loss off and get back on the horse, because there's no time to cry about it, as they like to say. Nope. So Jackson, I'll be curious to see how they come out and play against Wisconsin next week. If they'll have the same energy, or if they'll be like, oh, we lost to Michigan.
Oh yeah, they're
like, let's not even try.
I don't think USC's gonna have that. I think they'll be fine. And plus, if they do lose to Wisconsin, I think they'll rebound with a huge winning streak. But I mean, I think USC will be fine. Our friend Hummus Hero is giving us a friendly hello, and a hello to you too, Hummus. We're glad to see you on tonight's edition of the Final Whistle. And he has a question for
we have a lot.
Oh, go ahead.
We have a lot of comments, good buddy.
Oh yeah. And he's asking us, is it safe to say Kent State is the worst FBS team? I mean, they have been outscored by almost 120 points in the past 2 games. They're always the worst FBS team every year, but it's them
and UMass or Akron.
I don't really like the torture Kent State, really, because it's like it's like beating up on it's like a grown man beating up on a baby. That's just things you don't do. I'm not really gonna say anything about State. There's just things you don't do in life.
And Rough Rider returns, says, hello, gentlemen, what's up? And Clint Moses is in the house. He's celebrating the Beavers dub. Oh, boy. And here comes Clint starting the propaganda. Pac-12 is better than the Big Ten. Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. Well Kansas State just kicked the field goal. It's now BYU 31, Kansas State 9 in the final minutes of the third quarter in Big 12 After Dark.
And we have a new person here watching, Jackson. PNW Ute is here. May I suggest a cooktail pastry rather than a 5-layer burrito? That's a good idea. I mean,
my mistake. 5 minutes.
Yeah. And then Breakaway is here, 34. He said, what does it mean what Kurt Herbstreit said when Hawking they could play 9 on the offense versus they weren't with Arnold? But 9 what? Like only 2 receivers? I don't get it, but he said it a bit. Did you catch any of that, Jackson?
No, because I was flipping between everything tonight.
And Rough Rider returns. I'm so sorry. I keep wanting to say Raiders. But he says the Sooners are 3-2 all time against Ohio State and Michigan. They are 1-3 against BYU and Boise State. That is a statistic I thought I would never hear.
Well, I mean, last season is the only win in school history against BYU for Oklahoma, because like their previous 2 losses were in the 1994 Copper Bowl against BYU and 2009 in the season opener where Sam Bradford got hurt in the second quarter at the first ever game at the Jerry Dome. Well, first ever college football game at the Jerry Dome. And our friend Sonny Verma from Locked On Illini Cast and the Big Ten Show is coming on in to give out a ILL Illini. How you doing, good buddy? Thank you for tuning in, man.
What's up, Sonny? Go Illini! Congrats on the win. That was a big one. Woo-hoo! Time to throw a party in Illinois. Get the champagne out.
Play some Disco Inferno, man.
You get the disco going. Get the Jackson drop the ball. Cue the ball.
Oh man.
And Breakaway says, go ahead, Jackson.
Was I celebrating too much that it echoed? Oh man, it's like, oh man, are we in a cave and I didn't know it?
Yeah. And he says, I'll try and catch exactly what he said better next time. My bad. You're good. It happens to all of us, Breakaway. We hear announcers say things and it's like, what did he say? I mean, it happens to all of us. You're good. And Rough Rider returns his graduation. Congrats, Sonny. And Sonny says, nice to get a big win on a Friday night so I can sit back and relax and watch good football on Saturday. Agree. That's why I like Friday night games. Because if you win, it's nice. Saturday, you could just be like, ah. Now, if you lose, it kind of put a damper on the day.
There we go.
And Hummus Hero says, Brent is a haluva coach. Anyone not admitting this at this point is in denial. Agree.
Yeah, it's like
I know he's.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand people that criticize like Brett Bielema, like being hired by Illinois. But it was just like they're letting that Arkansas tenure cloud their judgment a little bit. It's like I think honestly, Arkansas made a dumb move firing him the day after Black Friday. I mean, 2017 was one bad year. They should have toughed it out in 2018 with Brett Bielema. I mean, I know they weren't going to get to Frank Broyles' status, but at least they were going to be having some more 8-9 win seasons.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing too, Jackson. I can remember, watching all these shows, especially like the Big Ten show, the Ocho on the Voice of College Football. And I remember there was a certain topic about Brett Bielema, wrong coach. Anywho, get back on track. But I remember that was a topic. And a lot of people were like, he had one good year. It was a fluke year. He's not a good football coach. And it's like, and then when they go 5-7 the next year, everyone was like, see, I told you he's not a good football coach. And it's like you, Jackson. I understand sometimes teams have really good years. Like TCU, they went to the title game, and look at them now.
Yeah.
They can't even win the Iron Skillet game. They can't stop a truck from the bus hole, so to speak. But it's like, you can't judge a coach as long as he continues to take them to bowl games. I think it's safe to say that I think he's a great head coach. I'm you, Jackson. I'm on the side of he's a great head coach and he's building a bright future there.
Yeah.
And Rough Raider Return says, I was glad that they hired Brett. I mean, see, Jackson, there's a lot of people that are backing him, but he's also had plenty of doubters in his time. I can't speak for any of the Illinois fans, but I would say most of them were upset at first, but I would say they're probably happy with it now.
Like, I'll be honest, where I was like, when I found out they fired Lovie Smith, in 2020, I wasn't happy about it at the time as a college football fan, because it was like, I love seeing Lovie coaching college football, but then I was like, attendance is not at an all-time high like everybody thought it would be. So what are they going to do? Well, what does Josh Whitman do? He goes out and he hires Brett Bielema to be the new head coach. And I really liked how he has handled the university. He's done very well over there as the athletic director. And I'll go as far as to say, there should be more Josh Whitmans as athletic directors in all of college sports because he didn't sit and go, oh well, I'm right about Lovie Smith even when I'm wrong. No, I got to cut bait. I got to hire a new coach. I like that. I mean, he does what needs to be done for the university. And Sonny says it came down to Bielema or Leopold. Don't think they could have gone wrong either way. Agreed. I mean, we've seen some magic Leopold's bringing out at Kansas.
I didn't know that.
And I know that Kansas hasn't had a tremendous start this season, but watch what happens when people doubt Lance Leopold's teams.
So Jackson, when they fired Lovie Smith, Lance Leopold was actually a candidate even before he got Kansas rolling.
Seems that way, yeah. Because, like Sonny said, it was either Bielema or Leopold.
Well, because I know Jackson, then now that he's got Kansas rolling, I'm sure he's getting phone calls off the hook. But I didn't know beforehand he was. That's actually an interesting factoid. The more you know.
Oh, yeah. But, somebody who did not have a Bad Moon Rising today, well, I think Bad Moon Rising by Creedence Clearwater Revival was playing in the background because, I mean, I think Utah heard it.
There's a Bad Moon Rising.
Oh, yeah. I see Bad Moon Rising. There we go. I see trouble on the way.
This is what you get in late nights with us. So, but Sonny says yes. Most of us Illini fans watched Leopold's last bowl game because we thought it was a glimpse of our future offense. Okay, that makes more sense now. Okay, thank you for clearing that up because I was thinking even before he got Kansas rolling. I mean, I didn't know that, but now I do. The more you know. Thank you, Sonny, for clarifying that for me.
Well,
Jackson, the more you know. I just learned something. But go ahead.
It's always good to learn something new because if you don't, it's going to lead to a boring life if you don't learn anything new. And in the meantime, we saw.
But back to the Bad Moon Rising.
Oh, yeah. We got some Bad Moon Risings over in Salt Lake City on the road as the Utah Utes were thriving despite the fact that they don't have Cam Rising in a 22-19 victory in their first conference game as a Big 12 member. Yes, Utah Baylor's non-conference game, but tune in to the Final Whistle Week 2 for more explanations and the Pits Analysis show for Week 2 on that.
Good promotion, Jackson. But Jackson's the promoter around here. I'm just the entertainment.
I do my best. I don't have the circus hat yet and the bow tie and the little. I don't have the ringmaster stuff yet, but I'll get there.
Jackson's the promoter. He's the booker. He handles all that. I'm just here to be the entertainment, and I'm here to just give my analysis. Jackson's the one running this thing. I'm just here. But and PNWU says glad everyone has their role. Oh, we try to do 50-50, but Jackson's more of a promoter than I am. I must admit. But Jackson's just the pimp.
Oh man!
Oh my gosh! Okay, Jackson. Well, this turn.
I may just have to get a cane at some point, like a pimp named Slipback. I'm a pimp that goes meow.
But anywho, back to the Bad Moon Rising.
Think of the year when we look back on when it gets to the tail end of the year.
They're gonna be like, Jackson's just a pimp. He's just a pimp on the street here. Oh my gosh! Woo! This is why I love college football. You never know what fan base, who's gonna show up. And you never know what's gonna happen. Jackson's side gig is exposed. Jackson, apparently they're exposing your side gig. You're a pimp. You're walking down the street, I guess, getting all of the ladies. Oh,
I do what I can. I do what I can on the side. Like Tony Montana.
oh my gosh. Woo, how did we get from Utah, Oklahoma State to Jackson's side pimp? Oh my gosh. Oh Lord. JJ Easy Street. Oh my
Well,
god.
here we are. Off 110th Street, where every day's a hustle.
Ooh, okay. I think we're done. I think
Oklahoma State until I get done laughing.
Okay. Catch our breath. Okay, back to business. Somehow we got off on Jackson's pimping habits. I don't. But oh my gosh, I'm just here, big pimping my camless shoes. Okay. Well,
There
we're
you
gonna
go.
talk good about him. Well, at least I will. I don't know about Jackson.
Oh, I will
But
too. No
I will
worries.
say,
I like what they've done.
I will say though, Jackson. I know during the week when we picked this game, Cam Rising was expected to play, and then it comes out that they brought the backup in, Isaac Wilson, and it was just like, and that was the hard thing about picking this game too, Jackson, because it was like they didn't give us a definitive answer on whether or not he was going to play or not. Made this game really hard, and you picked Oklahoma State. I picked Utah, and Jackson, I don't blame you for picking Oklahoma State because I almost did myself. The only reason why I picked Utah is because I feel like when Kyle Whittingham's back is against the wall, that's when he does his damage. Because we all remember that USC game, right? When no one gave them a chance in Blue Moon to win that game. And they go to Southern California with Bryson Barnes and wins on prime time on Fox. So my thought process was, okay, if Cam Rising is going to be limited or even possibly not make it, I thought, okay, Morgan Scalley, they're going to scheme it up. Let's stop Ollie Gordon. Alan Bowman threw 2 picks today, Jackson. And I got to say, Jackson, where is your man Ollie Gordon gone? 42 rushing yards? That's not Heisman numbers.
No.
Like, Jackson, I mean, like, Jackson, I'm kind of disappointed in Oklahoma State because they underperformed yet again in another big game. I'm very disappointed. Like, I'm happy my Utah pick turned out good, but I know, Jackson, you have
Oklahoma State cannot blame anything on Texas and Oklahoma anymore. The Big 12 is supposed to be theirs, they said. Well, it's not looking like it so far. And our friend Hamas Hero is asking us, how long is Cam out for? Well, that's what I'm looking at right here and now. We don't know, but we know he didn't play this week. He was basically a game time decision, but
I know the original report, Jackson, was 6 to 8 weeks is what I saw. That's when I saw expected to play, I was thinking, how did we go from 6 to 8 weeks to expected to play?
I know, right?
Because that was what was originally reported. It was just going to be 6 to 8 weeks.
Yep.
And Breakaway says, glad Utah pulled that game out. It was interesting at times. You know, honestly, Coach Whittingham said it best in his post-game interview. We did not need those dramatics at the end. Because Jackson, it was 22-3 at one point. And then all of a sudden, I flip it back because I'm watching Louisville, as you all could tell. Go Cards. I was shameless plug. We'll get to them in just a second. I was watching that game too. And then all of a sudden I turn back and it's 22-19. I'm thinking, what the heck happened? I'm like, Utah's defense seemed to have this thing under control. Well, they recovered the onside kick, and that was it. But it got a little scary there at the end. And PNW Ute says Coach Wish insisted it was a game time decision to lower Rising. I can understand that. You're protecting your investment. I get it, because that's the thing. Cam Rising, I think, is the heart and soul of this Utah team. They'll go as far as he could take them. But Kyle Whittingham's not opposed to leaning on his defense or letting the other quarterbacks get their shine. And Hummus says, well, they won without him. Yes, indeed. Now, Oklahoma State didn't play their best either. But it was all because of that stingy defense. And PNW Jackson says, Coach Witt says they'll reevaluate for next week. Speculation specs, tendon injury. Ooh, those are always like hard, so to speak, just to come back from, because all it takes, Jackson, is one wrong movement and it could tear them or re-injure it. And what do you think about this, Jackson? Cam better hurry. Zach's little bro getting better every game. Jackson, do you think they would replace Cam Rising after all he's done?
That all depends. Will they be unbeaten?
I know sometimes Jackson the record, but after everything Cam Rising has done for him, even if the backup's playing good, don't you think you owe it to Cam Rising to let him finish the job?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, but we'll wait and see what happens. We don't know what's going to happen.
Now, Jackson, I know you've got a good friend of our show coming on to a Jacksonian episode very soon.
Yep.
Cody Stovall from Locked On Oklahoma State. He'll be coming on the Jacksonian for another episode. I gotta say, Jackson, what were you thinking? Like, just give me your thoughts on this game, because I've taken all I could say.
Well, I mean, he played all right against Utah State last week, but that was against Utah State, right? So I want to see what more he could do. I want to see what he could do against Oklahoma State. I wasn't expecting Utah to win on the road, but I really love what they brought out. It was pretty cool. And PNWU brings up a good point that UD was sick, even though they led a couple touchdowns at the end. I mean, it happens. But, I mean, they stomped a mud hole and all
garbage touchdowns.
So
they call them garbage touchdowns. But I will say, Jackson, Jackson, I think you might have found you another.
Well, you're going to enjoy it more on November 9th. I'm already looking forward to BYU Utah. Like, heck, I'll be honest. Like, even though I love my Alabama Crimson Tide, I love watching Alabama LSU. But if I got to pick and choose, well, I mean, I won't lie. I'm going to flip between Alabama LSU and BYU Utah if it's on the same time. But, of course, I'll be doing the post-game show for Alabama at the Voice of College Football with Zach Mamulus that week, of course. But when I get done, I'll be watching some BYU Utah. Then when I get done, I'll be doing the final whistle with this good friend of mine right above me.
Mm-hmm. And Breakaway says BYU Utah will be epic, especially Jackson. What's the scoring update? Is BYU still holding strong?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're still winning 31-9. Yeah, because I'm getting a hold of it right now. It's the fourth quarter, and let me see. Oh, wow. Now it's 38-9. Sion Imoa ran for a 21-yarder. So they are dominating the Kansas State Wildcats tonight.
Mm-hmm. And Jackson, Rough Rider Return says it was a tremendous rivalry. I
I
think
know.
Jackson, I think you and Rough Rider Returns are gonna have some fun when we get to that game later on in the
Oh,
year.
I'm gonna have so much
But
fun
Jackson,
talking about that game when we do the pits analysis for that week.
mm-hmm. But Jackson, you know who's not having a fun year? UCLA. They're thinking, why? Why did we have to go to the Big Ten?
Well,
I mean, I will say though, Jackson, LSU did look a little sloppy in the beginning, but they got it together at the end and were able to pull away.
oh man, it's like you can't be looking sloppy like this every week, LSU. That's bad.
Jackson always ragging on them. Never wants to give them credit.
Well, I mean, their defense is pitiful. I mean, what do you want me to do? Kiss them on the cheek? Good God.
I mean, Jackson, their defense is 50% better than it was last year. At least they're not giving up 30 points a game anymore.
Yeah, no, it's like I gotta see what more they can do. They gotta show me they can do against Ole Miss.
I see you're a tough customer
Yes,
to please.
well, I mean, you've known me 2 years. Of course, I'm gonna be a tough customer with everybody in college football. How it is.
I will say, though, Jackson, do you think, Jackson, there's any shot UCLA can maybe win 5 games?
I don't even know. It's that bad.
In Jackson, their offense just looks disheveled. Eric Bieniemy, he's like, can I go back to the NFL? Patrick Mahomes, will you take me back, please? I don't want to be here anymore. And LSU, they look good in the second half, but oh boy,
Yeah, I'm like,
the
yeah, LSU's pitiful. UCLA's pitiful. Let's talk about something happy like your boys winning. Take it away, Austin.
well, Jackson. Before I get into the happiness, I got a couple things I want to say. I understand we're coming off a bye week, right? Jitters, everything. I don't know if you caught any of this game, Jackson, or if anybody in the chat caught this game, but we need to stop committing stupid penalties. Jackson, it seemed like every time we turned around, we were either getting a face mask penalty, we were getting a holding penalty, false starts. We were playing very undisciplined football today, and it almost cost us big time. Like, Jackson, our offense line couldn't block. We couldn't get our run game going. And Jackson, I would be lying if I said, "Oh, I think everything's gonna be fine." I'm a little worried, Jackson, because when we play these better teams, like IE next weekend, when we play Miami and go to Death Valley, there will be teams that take advantage of those weaknesses. And Jackson, don't get me wrong, Tyler Shuck, he played good today. He could have played a little better. And oh, by the way, Jackson, thank you for Jacorian Brooks. Thank you. If any other receivers are unhappy, we'll take the others. He was a stud today. Him and Chris Bell on those little drag routes. I like what I saw. But Jackson, I will say this. I think the game ball goes to the defense today. Defense and special teams. The game ball goes to them. Because without them, we don't win this game. We had the blocked field goal return for a touchdown. We had 3 4th down stops. We had a goal line stop. The defense and special teams won us this game today. The offense did just enough to make sure that the defense didn't have to worry. Now, we got to clean this up, clean up the penalties, get back to work, and we got to get our run game, and we got to get our offensive line right. And it starts next weekend. And Jackson, we play Notre Dame next weekend. big chance, big opportunity. Looking forward to it. If we can win that game somehow, I think we put the whole world on notice yet again.
Yep. It'll be fun seeing what
And breakaways.
happens.
He says Haynes King is good. Louisville, good win. It was a very good win. I think Georgia Tech's a bowl team. I'm not going to celebrate and get too happy. We did what we were supposed to. I think we're a little better than Georgia Tech as an overall team. So I'm happy with the win. We're 3-0. Great team win. Now it's on to Notre Dame. Can't celebrate too long because we got bigger fish to fry. Jackson, I don't know if you saw any of this game, but do you have any takeaways?
Well,
Or things you liked?
I did see a little bit of Louisville, Georgia Tech. I thought it was pretty good seeing Louisville have a big win against Georgia Tech, but they got to do better than what they did today next week against Notre Dame. But I did love that little scoop and score from earlier in the game. That was pretty cool. But what was Georgia Tech thinking? Like, what were they even thinking on that play? Good God.
Jackson, that's why I said if I have to give a game ball, it's going to the defense. The defense and special teams get it today. And the thing is, too, Jackson, I don't know if you watched the play, but he ran with it, and then he was like, oh, crap, the lane's not open. And then when he goes to throw it, Quincy Riley, who, in my opinion, is one of the better safeties and corners in college football, was like, oh, you're throwing it? And he times it just right and bats it the other way, and it becomes a backwards pass, and we scoop it, score. Like, Jackson, I don't know if you've watched much of Quincy Riley, but he's someone you don't want to throw in his direction. Or if he's in the direction, don't even think about throwing it his way. Because he's elite.
I definitely better watch a lot of him as much as possible for sure.
Yeah, Jackson, he's like the third-ranked corner on the draft boards as we speak. I think he's behind Travis Hunter and who's the one? Caleb Downs from Ohio State are the two ahead of him, and then the one from Alabama. I forget his name. Jackson. He's fourth. Jackson, who's your corner?
Well, let's look at our roster.
Because I saw this on the draft board. They showed it when the game was playing. The top 5 corners and safeties on the board. And Quincy was like third behind Downs and Hunter. And then there was a Bama one that was fourth.
Yeah.
Was it? It might have been. Jax, is he draft eligible?
Let's check.
Because if he's a junior, I think he is, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's draft eligible if he's a junior.
Yeah, I believe it was an Alabama player.
Yep.
I got the game recorded. I'll go back and look at it. And if it's him, then yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah, Malcolm.
I don't know how good he is. Good he is, but he must be pretty good if he's ranked up that high on the draft boards. Like Jackson, how good is he?
Really good. You don't want to get on his back. Well, Malcolm Moore's a safety, by the way.
Okay. Well, it's for corners and safeties. They plumped them in both together. But I guess, Jackson, he's one that you don't want to throw to him one-on-one. He's that kind of safety.
Nope. You don't want to mess with him.
But it'll be interesting to see. So I'd pay attention for him next week. Be like, where is he at on the field? I need to watch more tape of him. See what I'm missing over there.
Yeah.
But anywho, Jackson.
Iowa State smacked Arkansas State. Huge plays made in that game, but I mean, you're supposed to beat Butch Jones, no doubt about that. But Clemson, I'm really convinced that they are playing like a team to the point where they are one of the two teams that could win the ACC. I'm not joking when I say this.
I will say this, Jackson. Were we too quick to predict Clemson's demise? I know, Jackson, you were very critical of them at one point of predicting Clemson's demise. I know I was too, but what about you, good buddy? Are you ready to hop back on the Clemson is a top tier program, or you need to see some more?
I gotta see some more, but I'm loving what I'm seeing from Clemson so far.
I will say though, Jackson, I don't want to take anything away from him because putting up 59 points, that's impressive. Like, that's hard enough as it is. But I will say though, Jackson, it was against NC State in their backup. So I don't know how much of that was actually Clemson. I don't know how much that was Clemson and just their whole team putting it together or playing a really banged up NC State team. And Jackson, NC State's been very disappointing this year. Because, Jackson, I know you had Locked On Wolfpack on your podcast. Or I called it a podcast. What it is. The Jacksonian.
Yeah, I mean, Jacksonian is a show / podcast. You can call it podcast. I don't mind.
But you had Locked On NC State, one half of Locked On NC State on there. And they were really high on this football team. Jackson, what do you think has caused them to go awry? Like, what's causing their downfall right now?
Grace McCall being
because you got to get all this personal wisdom from the gods themselves.
Yeah.
Like, so you got some knowledge on them.
Yeah, I mean, I talked with not only Grayson Boone at Locked On Wolfpack, but R. Corey Smith at 247 Sports. So that was a pretty cool experience. He's the editor of Pack Pride, as a matter of fact. So it's like they're all pretty cool dudes. At some point, I should be able to get Kenton Gibbs for an episode. I mean, that'll be a pretty cool experience. Like,
I will say this though, Jackson. If I had to ask you right now, like just off the top of your head, who are the two best teams in the ACC?
Miami and Clemson.
As of tonight.
As of tonight, Miami and Clemson. No questions asked. Like, honestly, because like for right now, that's where it's at. And I love your boys at Louisville. You know I always will. I don't expect them to beat both Miami and Clemson. But if they can beat one of each, if they can beat Clemson for the first time ever in school history, that can really help them. If they can beat Notre Dame again, they're in my conversation again. Like they're in top 3, no worries. No worries there.
Because here's the thing. I will say, Jackson, you're right. Clemson and Miami, we play both of them this year. We play the two teams that you are, as of tonight, thinking will be playing in December for the title. If we split those games, there's a good chance that we will be in the title game again. There's a good chance. But we can't put the cart before the horse.
No.
And, so sad. Why Northern Illinois? Oh.
Well, I think Coach Hammett got way too focused on the interviews. He got too focused on going on Fearless with Jason Whitlock. He got focused on being on Barstool Sports. He got focused on being on Dan Patrick. He got focused on, which, I mean, I understand you got to like go on interviews, tell everybody about your team and all. Don't get me wrong. You got to. I mean, that's your job. But Buffalo wasn't sitting there thinking, what show do we go on? What podcast do we need to go on today? Do we need to go on Part of My Take? Hello. Yeah, we're going against Northern Illinois. No, no, you're not having us on. Okay, well, we'll beat their asses ourselves, and we'll show you.
Yeah, Jackson. I was really hoping they would win. That way, it would make the Notre Dame make the loss on Notre Dame's resume look a little bit like comparable. But instead, I see Texas A&M Jackson. They didn't blow it. How nice.
Oh, well, we know a guy that thought Bowling Green was going to beat Texas A&M, but his dreams went to die because Texas A&M won.
Mm-hmm. And Jackson, Florida, stay Billy Napier's season. It's
I'm not
at
so
least for
sure
today,
beating
Jackson.
Mississippi. I'm not so sure beating Mississippi State automatically keeps your job because we saw that with Jimbo Fisher last year. That wasn't enough for him to stay on at Texas A&M. I'm
And I will
probably
say this though.
I'm probably gonna be like seeing if I can somehow wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, wait for an update, post it, and see where it goes from there.
I will say this, Jackson. Florida looked good today. You even have to admit, Jackson, they look good today. Graham Mertz and company, they look good. But Jackson, as you said, Mississippi State is pretty bad, though. They're in rough shape. And it's so sad to see Jackson because of Mike Leach, too, and the legacy he left there and what team he had built. And it's just like going all down the crapper. It's so sad seeing Mississippi go to this state. So sad. But at least Florida got the job done.
Yes, they did. I mean, I saw something on the Aflac trivia question where they asked when was the last time both these teams had a double-digit win season. 2014 for Mississippi State, that magnificent Dak Prescott year, and 2019 was the last. 2019 was the last time for Florida.
Yeah, the year they went to the Orange Bowl.
I'm kind of feeling like Florida firing Dan Mullen is like the college football equivalent of the Lions firing Jim Caldwell. Like maybe I could be wrong on that. I don't know, but I don't know. Like firing Mullen for having a bad year in 2021. I think it was a little bit hasty, but again, you're the Florida Gators. You expect to be where you were in the 90s and the 2000s. So on the one hand, I understand it. On the one hand, I really don't.
Yeah. Yep, Jackson, if you're Florida, if you're not winning 19 games, your seat's going to be hot.
Yeah. So, there's our boys at Indiana. Well, our good buddy Jeffrey's definitely happy about this. He's playing the Peanuts music due to Indiana winning. But
and as Hummus here, Hero says Jackson, Indiana's a juggernaut.
Oh yeah, they're for real. But North Carolina, they got smacked 70-50. Oh my God, ooh. Does it say more
Jackson,
about James Madison, or are we ready to say it quits on the Matt Brown era? Because I think honestly, it's time for him to retire. I'm sorry to say, I love you, Matt Brown. We love the work you've done in all of college football, but you cannot be letting your teams get smacked by James Madison 70-50. I mean, there were like reports. Some people are saying, oh, well, Matt Brown's going to leave North Carolina. He's out. But he told ESPN today that he's not resigning and he will be back at work Sunday following the loss. And it was an emotional locker room. And he told the team he blamed himself and he would step away if he couldn't get things straightened out.
Yeah,
And
Jackson, I I will say this, good buddy. I warned you about this upset. I warned
yes,
you
you did.
because
I was wondering about James Madison, and it's like, I mean, they still got the Kurt Cincinnati players, but is their current
have
head
the Kurt
coach?
Cincinnati mentality.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like I wasn't too sure, but maybe a little bit, I want to say, but I kind of feel like I'm gonna chalk this up to this game says more about Matt Brown. I love what James Madison did. My God, 53 points in the first half, the most in school history for the first half.
Mhm.
That's incredible. Like this football
So
program is an incredible program, man.
I will say, Jackson, on our show Wednesday night, I remember I even mentioned, I said, be careful, North Carolina. And you were like, you kind of brushed it off. And I was like, I know this isn't Kurt Cincinnati, but be careful. This is upset central. And what happens? Boom. Right on cue, Jackson. Now, I will agree with you, Jackson. North Carolina's defense is pitiful. Like they always do this, Jackson. Just when people start talking good about them, they do this kind of performance to us. This is why Jeffrey, our good buddy Jeffrey, can never take them seriously. This is why Jeffrey, when people say, "Oh, North Carolina could be a dark horse to win the ACC," this is why Jeffrey is very hesitant to get on board with that. And Jackson, I know even when I brought that up to you as North Carolina as a dark horse, and you were like, they beat Minnesota, and then they played their cupcakes. I need to see more. And Jackson, they do this against James Madison. Like Jackson, like if there was a panic meter right now, where would it be at for you? Are you like full panic, or are you like, okay, this is something?
Usually I
Or
don't
no
like
panic
to
at
do
all.
this, but in this case, I'm gonna make an exception for North Carolina because if you're allowing 70 points, hell, you're allowing 53 points in the first half against a James Madison team. You gotta fix that defense quick, fast, in a hurry. You cannot have more moments like this.
Uh-huh.
That's bad.
So
That's
Jackson, are
bad.
you saying? So Jackson, are you saying it's panic time?
Yeah. You gotta look in yourself. That's what you gotta do if you're the Tar Heels. I mean, this is terrible, terrible, terrible,
Mm-hmm.
terrible. But you know,
This is pretty. This was pretty bad, Jackson. And like
it's
you
a
said,
living.
they're gonna have to look in the mirror and be like, that's not North Carolina football. I hope next week they get corrected and they get back to playing Carolina football because the season is still ahead of them. They still have plenty of conference games ahead. But yes, Cincinnati at home, Jackson, they took care of business. Nippert Stadium, they normally play really good at home.
Yep. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, Houston's getting some. They're
I like this comment.
they're in rebuilding phase. Oh,
And Rough Rider Return says the NC defense did not remind anyone of the '85 Bears.
nope.
No, it reminded us of the what would be the equivalent of that, Jackson, for
Mm,
NFL? The
that's a good
2020
question.
Cowboys defense.
Oh God. Ooh.
I and hearing that from me,
That's
if you
bad.
don't know, spoiler, I'm also a Cowboys fan. So I just roasted my own team.
Yep.
So, and he
Well,
said Cumberland.
oh yeah, the 220-0 victory from Georgia Tech in the 1910s. I believe that was 1916. Yeah. But Kansas,
But
West Virginia, you know, this game was put a stop by a storm delay because of the bad weather. There's only like 10 minutes left in the game. And apparently the storm delay was kind of like Popeye eating his spinach when he gets his ass whooped for West Virginia. So they kind of got their spinach and got things rolling with Garrett Green in the final two drives. They're trailing 28-17. Joey and I were talking, Joey Foster, friend of the Voice of College Football and friend of the Final Whistle. We were talking, where he was like, if Neil Brown doesn't win in this drive, if he does not get things rolling with Garrett Green in this game, he's got to go. And we saw
Jackson. Go ahead.
And we saw what Garrett Green did. And apparently, I think Neil Brown took the hint, like, okay, I need to let Garrett Green use his magic a little bit. You know what? Garrett Green used a little bit of his magic. And, there was like a little late hit on Kansas. That helped the Mountaineers quite a lot. And anybody that saw this game, chat, I don't know if you saw this game, but if you did, you probably saw that Philly special when they were going for 2. That was tremendous in of itself. And that last drive, loved it. Loved it. It was amazing by West Virginia. And I know that, like, some Mountaineer fans, they were like, oh, well, it shouldn't have been this way. It shouldn't have been this way against Kansas. But remember, this is not Charlie Weiss, Kansas. This is not Turner Gill or 2015 Kansas. This is not the Kansas team that looks pitiful in all college football. This is the Lance Leipold Kansas football team. And I know that record looks bad. I know that 1-3 record looks bad. But remember, Kansas does not have Oklahoma State. They don't have Utah. They can make magic happen when everybody is doubting them.
Jackson, you could put me on that side of doubting them. I don't believe in this team anymore. Because Jackson, they've looked pitiful. UNLV, they looked pitiful. This game, they had the lead, and they were seemingly had this game won, and they let it go. Well, Jackson, I know you love you some Jayhawks. I know. But Jackson, I think it's time to admit this is not a very good football team at the moment. And Jalen Daniels is not himself. I think the injuries, Jackson, are catching up to him, and they're lingering on him. Something's not right with him. Jackson, I know people. I just like. I know you had high expectations for Kansas, them going 9-3, 10-2. Jackson, and they still have their running back Devin Neal, but they are just playing some bad football right now.
Well, let's see what they can do against TCU next week. And if they lose to TCU next week, there's not going to be any positivity about Kansas for me. That I will give my word on.
Because Jackson, I'm starting to lose faith. Like I hope they win, but it looks like this might be a down year. But as for West Virginia, though, good buddy, I will say Neil Brown, Jackson, did they cool his seat off with this win?
Well, they got a bye week next week, and the October slate's pretty rough. They got to go to Oklahoma State when they get back from their bye week. But, of course, they got some tough conference games in Iowa State, Kansas State. But luckily, it's at home in Morgantown. But they have to go on the road to Arizona to end the month of October. But the month of November seems a little bit easier. And I think maybe if West Virginia goes 9-3 or 8-4, they're good to go. But if they go 7-5, 6-6, they're going to be bringing out the torches and pitchforks outside the sheriff's office. What they're going to do.
Agreed. I think Jackson, like you said, if they go 7-5, it could be not looking too high. Tulane surviving, get the W. Kentucky with the win. Central Michigan. Jackson, Virginia took care of business. No upset. I know that was a game we flipped on. Okay, Temple did their job.
Oh,
Rutgers
looked pretty
going
good.
going to Blacksburg, getting a big time W. Good on them. Massachusetts, they got a win. Pitt,
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
73.
Honestly, I almost forgot about Pitt. Honestly, they look like a really good team in the ACC. Maybe I'm overhyping them a little bit. Maybe it's because the conference is looking that bad this year. But from what I've seen of Pitt, they can do very well.
Speaking of Jackson, maybe bad. Texas Tech. Jackson, I called it. The Red Raiders.
Yeah.
Told you don't sleep on them Red Raiders.
Oh, I'm not.
I will say though, Jackson, this was a thrilling game. I
Yeah.
watched a good chunk of this too. I was kind of like I had Louisville on the TV. I had the phone going in the tablet. Are you kidding me, Memphis? What is? See, Jackson, you cursed them. You were like, "Oh, they should handle this."
What did I do? What did I do? I wasn't on the field. I didn't cut off their claws. Good God.
Jackson, you were over here saying they should handle it. They gave up 56 points to the triple option. Golly. Duke won.
At
Impressive.
least we're not TCU getting curb stomped on the CW. Good God. I mean, that magic of 2022 is gone. It's all gone.
In Jackson, they were making fun of the CW too. Did you see their little Twitter thing?
Yeah, they were running that mouth on Twitter. They were focused on running that mouth, and I'm sure that did a lot. Not.
Hey, Jackson, they were like, "Oh, we're on the CW." They're like, "We're on the CW. This isn't. How dare you put the iron skillet on the CW?" Well, guess what? You got 66 dropped on you.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure Clint Foster's going to do a skit on that game. And I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to it. Like, that dude does a great job on the Biggest 12 on Big 12 at the Voice of College Football. And he does a great job on his own channel as well.
I just recently become a fan.
Like, dude's a comedic genius, man. I'm looking forward to his comedy skit on TCU SMU. That's gonna be funny. It's gonna be the laugh of the century.
But SMU looks like they've gotten back on track. Good for them. Jackson, their schedule kind of winds up. Jackson, are they possibly a dark horse, or maybe a team that could sneak up because of the way their schedule is lined up? I mean, they play Florida State next weekend, but we all know Florida State. We'll get to them in just a second.
Yeah. I want to see more of what SMU brought out today against TCU next Saturday against Florida State and the week after against Louisville. I'm not expecting SMU to be winning the ACC in their first year or anything, but I just want to see what they can do in conference play.
That's fair. That's fair. Colorado State bounce back, Jackson.
Oh, this is a weird final score, 24-5.
Is that a score-gami?
Was that like a dominant baseball game that I missed? Like, what was that?
I mean, I don't know. But Washington, congrats. They play Rutgers on Friday night in a big showdown. Oh, yes. Here we go, Jackson. Here we go.
Jesus God. Like these
Florida State.
These guys at Florida State doing their little bragging. Cow. You're not supposed to brag about being 1-3. That is not something you flex. Oh, my baby cow in the first ACC game. Shut up. I'm gonna cook everything. You'll cook everything the clown, and then he give you that. Shut up. Well, we're gonna leave the ACC. We're gonna leave the. Shut up, Florida State. Shut up. You're 1-3.
As you can see,
you're bragging about it. Really? You're supposed to beat Cal in their first ACC game.
And as y'all can see, this is how Jackson feels about Florida State winning today. I will say, though, thank you, Florida State, for finally showing up and showing us some dang effort.
And now you
thank you.
Now,
And here's the thing, too. We flipped on this game. I picked Florida State. I was like, you know what? I may regret this, but I'm going to do it one more time. One more time. Florida State at home, they're going to get this win. Surely to goodness, they're going to show up at home. And Jackson was like, nope, Cal. And then look, and then they do this to you, Jackson.
Like, I didn't care if they won or lost, honestly. It's like, I'm just like, oh, my
And Jackson,
God.
I'm sure.
I give up.
Jackson, I'm sure. And I'm sure Florida State right now, some of their delusional fans are thinking, oh, we're going to be like the Green Bay Packers. We're going to run the table. And we're going to get the 9-3, and we're going to go to the ACC title game. We're going to run the table. We're going to run the table. Like, the ACC so bad, everyone's going to beat up on each other, and Florida State's going to run the table at 9-3 and get in. Good luck with that.
Oh, yeah.
And they're probably thinking, I can hear it now, Jackson. Oh, DJ Ukulele, he's the greatest quarterback in Seminole history.
He sucks. He sucks.
And Jackson there, and I could say, oh, you haters down DJU, I need receipts immediately because Florida State, we're the elite brand.
What? Receipts on what?
No, Jackson, how dare you doubt us? We're the dominant brand in the ACC. It just took us a minute. We're gonna run the table. We're Florida State. We beat Cal in their first game. Well, good job, Florida State. Do you want a freaky cookie? You beat Cal. It's not like you beat the 19th. It's not like you beat 2016 Clemson. And it's not like you beat 2016 Louisville. And heck, it's not even like you beat 2020 Virginia.
No. You beat Cal.
Good
and it's
grief.
like Aaron Rodgers didn't come out to play there just now. He didn't come out and see if he had another semester left. Like, no.
What about Jared Goff?
No Jared Goff. Like, he's just like, nah, I like where I'm at in Detroit. I'm taking the trail dust off of Berkeley.
South Carolina got it done.
They're supposed to. But Iowa, I asked for Iowa and Minnesota to show me more production on offense, more than their cupcake games. Unfortunately, Caleb Johnson is the man of the night in the 2024 edition of the Floyd of Rosedale. Congrats, good sir. 17 points in third quarter. I'm proud of you, Iowa. I really am.
Jackson, are we ready to say Iowa has an offense now?
Let's see what they can do, and let's see what they can do after against Ohio State, Washington, Michigan State, Northwestern. Like, I think I can give more of an evaluation after 2 more games.
I will say though, Jackson, congrats to Iowa. You got your revenge after what happened last year. But Jackson, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but is PJ Fleck, was this for his season tonight?
They're going to have to pull off some major league upsets against Michigan and USC, or at least one of them. Because right now,
so you don't think. So, Jackson, you're thinking if they pull off one upset, he might be able to save his butt or get a vote of confidence.
Yes. And I think that he's going to have to get some more wins, of course. because I think his
And
seat
Rough
is on fire.
and
Nice.
Rough Raider Return says the Floyd is returning home. I'm a hey, I'm a guessing he's an Iowa fan. I could be
Yep.
wrong. Or
Yeah,
he
he's
just
an
likes
Iowa fan.
Iowa.
Yeah. He's an Iowa fan.
Well, okay then.
Rough Rider.
Congratulations then.
Rough Rider. How are you feeling about that Iowa offense exactly? Is Mr. Lester getting it done for you so far?
Rough Rider, congratulations then. The more you know. Now we can celebrate Iowa wins, Jackson. But to PJ Fleck though, Jackson, as you
Yes.
always tell me, you know, when you're winning, you could put up with someone's quirks, right? Of him
Mhm.
doing his like row the boat, Minnesota's gonna roll the boat, this, that, and the other. But as you say, Jackson, when you're not winning, you get fed up with it quick. And he says, I'm gaining confidence. Okay. Jackson, he's feeling good about it then.
Well, I wanted to see what Iowa could do with their offense, and it sounds like I'm getting some of my questions answered, and I'm satisfied with the answer. I like it.
Jackson,
I look like
it's just like
I look like a hard man to satisfy from time to time, but I'm pretty easy to satisfy. Austin's known me for quite a while. He knows I'm pretty easy to please.
like the thing is, depending on who your team is, as long as if you show Jackson something, he will give you some credit. But if you're a contender or a New Year's Six or you're supposed to win your conference, it takes a lot to impress him. Speaking of that, Jackson, another Big Ten team had a very interesting game tonight. Michigan State,
Oh yeah.
you know, going going down to Chestnut Hill on Bandana night and almost coming away with another big W.
Oh yeah. That was a huge game winner by Boston College. I mean, they got that home field advantage. That helped them a lot.
Now, Jackson, I will say, Jackson, is Boston College a dark horse
Ooh, that's a
in the
good
ACC?
question. That's a good question. I mean, it's looking that way. It's looking that way. But I think
Let
we're
me
gonna
ask you this.
we'll definitely know by the end of week 5 and the end of week 6.
Let me ask you this, Jackson. On Michigan State, though, because they're more of the story here. Like Boston College, this is a good win, and Bill O'Brien's got you going the right way. But if you're Michigan State, Jackson, like what's the ceiling for this team? Because they've looked good at times. They played good tonight. They just gave up the game-winning touchdown at the end. Like, what's the ceiling for this team, Jackson? Do you think he can get them going bowling in year one, or is it
That's all
just let's get to
that's all
5
they
and
really
7?
that's all they really need to do is make a bowl game. I'm not expecting them to be like where they were from 2013 to 2015 or like 1966 where they shared a national title. I'm not really expecting that from Michigan State. I just expect them to go to a bowl game this season. I mean that's pretty much it. I'm sure they could find 3 wins on there, but it's tough, but nothing worth having is easy, I always say.
Yeah, they have a pretty difficult schedule. They play Michigan. I believe they play Penn State or no.
No, there's no Penn State, but they do have to go to Oregon on a Friday night, week 6. Next Saturday, they're going to be playing Ohio State on the Peacock app.
I got you. Okay, so they've got some big games. But Jackson, speaking of, I've been waiting all night to talk about this.
Oh,
Jackson,
there you go. Take it away, good buddy. I'll be doing some bookkeeping while you tell everybody about your take on Colorado Baylor.
I gotta say, Jackson, this is one of the most entertaining games I've watched in a long time. And I've seen quite a few in my time. But this was a fun game to watch. The atmosphere in Boulder was rocking, and I gotta say, Jackson, the just when all hope's lost, right? Baylor, you know, goes up 20. Baylor goes up 24-10. Sawyer Robinson looks good, and then Colorado gets the touchdown to end the half, and then they tie the game late, and then Baylor scores, and then the turnover, and then the 46-yard field goal missed. No, excuse me, 44-yard field goal missed by Baylor. Shedeur, gets them into position, and Webster with the Hail Mary catch of the decade. I mean, I don't know if y'all saw that or saw the highlight, but Shedeur just locked and loaded and threw that thing in between three defenders. Webster there to make the catch. We go to overtime, and then Travis Hunter forces the fumble. And overtime, that creates the touchback, and Colorado wins, and Boulder storms the field. This was an all-time classic. But I will say, Jackson, this was a game Baylor should have easily won, though. And I must say, Dave Aranda, Jackson, I think his seat might be on fire. I know we keep saying that, but Jackson, I think Dave Aranda's days at Baylor may be numbered after this loss.
Well, there is one game where somebody looked really bad, but it's not the Oregon State one, but how can we forget about Auburn, Arkansas? And I've got a question for everybody in the chat. And I want to know which was worse in your mind, the Auburn passing game or the North Carolina defense. Because the Auburn passing game in the first half, where Hank Brown was throwing 3 interceptions, this was terrible. It was terrible. It was disastrous. It was outrageous. And Arkansas, what happened to them is what I'd like to know.
To be honest with you, Jackson, this was a game I didn't catch much of, but I just saw the stat sheet and I was like, yikes. And Clint Moses says Aranda is done. He'll find a new job whistling ASMRs. Yeah, Jackson, is there anything Dave Aranda could do to save his job after what we witnessed tonight? Or was that the last straw?
I would say go on a huge winning streak. I mean, that's what I'd say. I mean, pull off some magical upsets and you're good to go.
But Jackson, to be honest with you, Jackson, I know, for Colorado, Jackson, there's a legit chance that they could somehow sneak into the Big 12 title game. I'm being dead serious. Because if you look at their schedule, Jackson, there's not a lot of games on there you look at and say they can't win that. They play Kansas State in 2 weeks. If Kansas State doesn't show up in Boulder, Colorado can win that game. They play Utah. That's one of the games. If Cam Rising isn't there, it could get a little tricky. They also play, I believe, UCF next weekend in the Bounce House. Now, that one does.
Yeah, I mean, which version of Central Florida are we getting, though? That's the question there.
Exactly. Yeah, I was about to say. And Jason O says UCF can beat KU at home. Yeah, I would agree with that because the Bounce House. That's the thing, Jackson. Is UCF, are they going to show up and act like they care, or are they just going to be like, I'm enjoying the Florida weather.
Yeah.
I mean, Jackson, it seems like Gus Malzahn thrives on beating you after a big win. Because we all remember that Oklahoma State winning last Bedlam, and then what'd they do? Get pounced 45-3 in the Bounce House.
They went blah.
We could see that next weekend.
Oregon State.
And Oregon State take care. Clint Moses, I'm sure you had a happy. I was going to say end to your night, but not. Yeah. I'm just going to transition out of that. You had a wonderful ending to your night.
Yeah, it was just. I don't know what to say for Purdue. I wish them a lot of luck, but they're gonna need some luck.
And Jackson, your guy Brocco Mendenhall is not looking too good. This may be a bad year for him.
Well, duh. I mean, it's his first year. I mean, he doesn't have all his guys there yet. Go Beavs, Pac-12 2-1 versus the Big Ten. The 2-pack.
This is true.
The 2-pack. Well,
and Jackson, real quick,
and so
BYU
far,
Kansas State update.
Oh, BYU won 38-9.
Jackson, what did we say in our Wednesday show?
BYU.
Kansas State always.
Well, oh yeah. I guess that Kansas State guy that said he was going to shove a 5-layer burrito up his butt. I mean, is he going to do it? Or is he going to hide on Twitter for a few days, change his username or something?
And Clint says we had a viral kick 6 interception. Yeah, Jackson, there's a lot of field goal blocks today. Yeah. We had one return. I saw Oregon State's.
Why do
Michigan had a PAT blocked?
Oh, for sure.
Go ahead.
But I'm going to ask you, why do some people say some of the dumbest stuff ever? Like, like that one guy where he said, if Florida State lose the Boss College, I'm going to eat dog poop out of a red Solo cup. And then we saw like that Kansas State guy say, I'm going to shove a 5-layer burrito up my butt. It's like, what's going to happen when your team does lose? Like when you say stuff like that. But we know one guy in particular that said, if Iowa wins, I will admit I suck and don't know anything about football. So.
Yeah. Jackson, that guy's going to eat some crow.
Oh, yeah. Which, I mean, we'll be letting him know on when he does comment again. Just let him know, hey, you got a little screenshot here. You dropped this. Here you go.
But I will say, though, Jackson, BYU, Jackson, are they a threat in the Big 12?
Yeah. It's a possibility.
I mean, Jackson, that's 2 big wins they've had this year. SMU and now over a top 15 team in Kansas State. I mean, is it time to start considering them as a legitimate threat to the Big 12 crown?
Could be, but we'll have to see more on what they can do against Baylor and Arizona State first, because Baylor's going to be catching them napping a little bit next week.
And Rough Rider returns says, I suspect they're morons. Yes.
Well, yeah.
See, that's the thing.
People that say stupid things online and think that they're not going to get repercussions off it, they are. Agreed.
So, Jackson, if Alabama loses next week, what kind of challenge are you going to do? Are you going to try to eat 5 Big Macs in 5 minutes? Or, I got it. I got one, Jackson. You're going to take a red Solo cup and fill it up with grass and eat grass.
I ain't doing any kind of challenge. I ain't doing any kind of challenge because I'm not making a butt of myself. I'm just going to be.
But it'll be good for our viewers, Jackson. Come on. Play the game.
Well, I mean, I'm not like the. Oh, man. I don't know. I'll figure something out. I don't know.
See, this is what it's like working with him. Very unprofessional. But speaking of that, though, Jackson, well, first off, Jackson, there's one simple thing you got to do first.
Mm-hmm.
Before we promote ourselves. You got to blow that whistle, or else the audience
there
is
we
going to
go.
go nuts. And that is the final whistle. It signifies that the College Football Association taking you around the slate is now over. And now we're at the promoting ourselves part. And Jackson, I know you've got a very big week ahead.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
that's
You
okay.
got a very big week ahead. Head with Dogs 247 Sports on Monday night at the Voice of College Football, Alabama.
Well, he's from Dodge
And
HQ at On 3. Yeah, Johnny and I.
okay, I was
Yeah,
thinking too.
it's all good. Yeah, they kind of get the names mixed up from time to time, but yeah. So I'm gonna be having Palmer Toms from the Georgia beat writer from Dogs HQ on Monday afternoon on the 5th edition of Crimson Tide Live, as he will join Johnny Burtz and I to discuss the preview of the Alabama Georgia matchup. And I'm gonna tell you right now, that's gonna be a great time. And also I will be filming Wednesday afternoon, and I plan to release it on Wednesday evening at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, episode 51 of the Jacksonian, with the Locked On Oklahoma State host, Cody Stovall, where we will be discussing quite a lot on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, including the loss to Utah and the preview against Kansas State. And I'll tell you something, folks, it's a wild ride, and I'm 129 subs away from that magic number 500 on Jackson Johnson 979. I'll need all the help as much as possible getting there, and that would be a huge birthday present right there. And I'm also looking at the stats as of now, and I'm 86 subs away from the magic number 2,500 on Alabama at the Voice of College Football, where we go over Johnny Burtz and I go over our take on the latest news and notes on the Alabama Crimson Tide Monday afternoons, 5 p.m. Central Time. And I will be co-hosting with Zach Remulus on the Alabama postgame show, where he and I and one or two friends will be discussing the takeaways from the Alabama-Georgia matchup on Saturday night. Win or lose, we'll be going over where we went right, what we went wrong, right after the game, all right here on Alabama at the Voice of College Football. Stay tuned, and what have you got going on Sports Talk with Austin, good buddy?
Well, Jackson, I've got the same thing going on as I do just about every week. Wednesday nights, I will be here with you for the Picks and Analysis show, where me and you will go around the association once again, but we'll be breaking down and picking some games. And we got a fun slate coming up. We'll be picking Alabama, Georgia. We'll be talking Notre Dame, Louisville. We'll be talking Kansas State, Oklahoma State. We'll be talking Illinois, Penn State. It's going to be a fun Wednesday night. And I'm sure we'll have some more interesting picks that'll come back to bite us again. And you can find me here on Saturday nights, as always, with Jackson. And we'll be going live after the latest game, except when Alabama has, of course, a later game, because Jackson will be fulfilling other obligations. But not to worry. He's still going to come over here and talk about it, too. You'll get to hear more of him ranting. Don't worry. Jackson's not running from no smoke. But you can also find me on Twitter, where I'll be ranting on the Cowboys, I'm sure, tomorrow, because they play the Ravens. Should be a fun time. The Titans, I don't know if Jackson will rant on them or not, if he'll save that for another time. But
Titans are rebuilding, so I mean that's pretty much what they're doing this year. So I'm not wasting my breath on them for now.
Jackson's giving up on the Titans. He's focusing on Alabama. But it is a good choice, though, good buddy. It is a good choice. You got to say it's a good choice. It's a good choice. But, Jackson, good buddy, there's something that I think needs to be said. Said, good buddy. You know, I love the people to death. We wouldn't have a show without them, Jackson. But you know what would make me feel even better, Jackson? And something that they can help us with. If they like, comment, and subscribe to our live streams and subscribe to our channels, because that would make us feel a whole lot better. Like, we love the fact they're here, interactive with us, but without their support and helping our algorithm, you know, I might cry. I might just cry, but it's okay because I know they love me anyway. But in all seriousness, though, that was my best to get sympathy. In all seriousness, though,
Don't
if you
make
could like,
Austin
comment, and
cry.
subscribe. Yes, don't make me cry. They don't love us, Jackson. Okay, I'm done now.
There you go.
Hey, better yet, you don't want to get Jackson crying because then he gets angry and then he starts throwing things. It's just a whole big mess. So just to avoid all this mess, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you never miss another great live stream by me or Jackson. We're here 2 nights a week. Jackson is over on the Voice of College Football so many nights of the week I can't even keep up. And I sometimes pop over there too and call in as well. But we'll be back on Wednesday night, 10:30 Central, 11:30 Eastern. A little later start time, but we'll be back making some picks. But thank you all for being here. We wouldn't have a show without you. Hope everyone has a fabulous Sunday afternoon enjoying NFL football or enjoying whatever you do and get ready for Monday. Go Cards, everybody.
Roll Tide.